Hello and welcome to the White Collar Fitness Radio, the ultimate podcast for professionals striving to achieve optimal performance in today's fast-paced age. I'm your host, Bruno Dalladoni, online body transformation specialist and founder of The Health Coach Fitness. I'm here to help you optimize your health and fitness, even if you're short on time. How's it going, everyone? Today, we're discussing whether you should or shouldn't do cardio to lose some body fat. As always, there's a few considerations we need to have. And the first thing for you to just have a think about as you listen to this is, are you trying to use cardio to compensate for overeating? Now, this tends to be the sort of route people go to, because it turns out that just adding some cardio or thinking about doing some more exercise is an easier variable than trying to manage your nutrition if you're, one, not entirely sure how to go about that, and two, if you're, as we covered off in the last episode or a couple of episodes ago, whether you're constantly telling yourself that, yeah, you eat healthy, so your nutrition's fine, therefore, actually, if you just add some cardio. So that's the first thing for you to think about. Are you actually trying to compensate for eating a little too much, potentially? Now, like we discussed in one of the podcasts ago about having a goal-focused nutrition, this goes to that, right? So if your nutrition is not matching to what you're trying to achieve, in this case, lose some body fat, then unfortunately, I hate to be the one that breaks it to you, but you cannot outrun a poor diet. You cannot outrun a diet that is higher in calories than what you need for the goal you're trying to achieve. In this case, lose some body fat. If you're not sure and you don't believe me, that's fine. Why the hell would you? I'm just some voice at the other end of the phone on your podcast. Do this experiment. Have a look at the back of your favorite sweet or your favorite chocolate bar. I tend to use a Mars bar or a Snickers as a reference point. It's roughly about 250 calories, give or take. Sweet. Now get yourself on the treadmill and run. Whatever pace you run, just do your thing and see how long that takes you to burn off. My guess, anywhere between 25 and 45 minutes. That's not to say that you shouldn't have your Mars bar, but it's just to highlight that it's far easier for you to smash 250, 300 calories down your neck than it is for you to burn that thing off, quote unquote, burn it off. Just remember that. And then on the idea that you can't outrun a poor diet, and I won't say a bad diet because I don't believe there are such things, shy of you physically just smashing McDonald's morning, lunch, and dinner. I don't really believe there are such things as bad, quote unquote, diets. I think context is always and forever the most important thing. But let's call it a poor diet from the sense that it's obviously not matching with the goal you have. If you're trying to outrun a poor diet, it will usually lead to some degree of frustration because it's very difficult to. And two, an old coach of mine, shout out James Sutton, said to me once, committing 100% is easier than committing 99%. What does that mean? It means that if you really pull the pin on that discipline grenade, as it were, and you tick all the boxes you have to tick, you need to tick, without questioning, without making up excuses, without trying to cut any corners, and you just 100% commit, because the constraints are so much greater, because you're not cutting any corners, it actually allows you much more freedom of thought, because you're not second guessing yourself. You're not trying to justify your actions to yourself. All you need to do and you get it done. So just remember that if you're trying to cheat the system or cut a corner here or justify going out there, I have people sometimes telling me, I had a good time, that made it all right. And yes, that doesn't not make it all right, but is it furthering the goal? So that's first and foremost. Are you trying to use cardio to compensate for eating a few too many calories? And then we get into trying to understand what cardio actually does in terms of fat loss. And of course, cardio has heart health benefits, cardiovascular benefits. We won't go into that because it's not the point of this episode. But for the point of this episode, which is cardio for fat loss, like I've just mentioned, always and forever comes down to calories. The best available sort of data we have always comes down to calories in, calories out, energy balance, all these fun and exciting things that are like so unsexy in the fitness industry because we all like a new shiny toy, but the basics still apply and the basics absolutely work. Going back, what is cardio doing? It's actually just fuel work. You're just burning calories. It might be that within a broader plan, you are sticking to your calories and you are where you should be. Maybe you don't want to drop your calories anymore than what you've already dropped them. So adding some cardio might not be the worst idea. But as always, it's understanding why you're putting that bit of cardio there, how you're putting it there, and tracking the variables. Tracking variables is so important, and it's one of those things that people tend to miss by and large. So what do I mean by that? If you are adding some cardio to drop some body fat, amazing. What are some of the things you want to be thinking about if you are in fact tracking everything properly? One is that wearable devices, they all operate on algorithms. So they'll track your heart rate, they'll track whatever else they may track. And then that raw data will go through some weird algorithm that the app or the device itself has, and you'll spit out a number. Now, the problem with that is that most devices have their own algorithm. They have their own formula. If you are trying to track things to a T and be really meticulous with it, tracking across different devices, as in what I mean by that is like today you use your Apple Watch, tomorrow you use the treadmill's inbuilt little calorie thing. 3 days from now, instead of using the treadmill, you use the rower, and the Concept 2 has a different thing. All of a sudden, it's very difficult to actually know what you're doing. So standardizing the variable, yes, your Apple Watch isn't particularly accurate because these things never are accurate. But if you always use the Apple Watch, then you have a better idea because that algorithm is by and large the same. Hopefully that makes some sense. Then the other thing for you to almost have a think about is your heart rate, which leads me into the next bit as well, which is HIIT better than steady state. And the answer is not really. However, it depends. Now, why do I say that? It depends is basically the answer to every single question you have regarding fitness. And the reason it depends is the answer is because you are different to me. Your preferences are different to mine, and how we operate is obviously very different. HIIT in and of itself doesn't have any magical properties like people believed about 10 years ago. But if you enjoy doing HIIT better than you do just going for a jog on the treadmill or walking up an incline on the treadmill or doing the climb mill or anything else, then do some HIIT. Now, the thing to almost pay attention to is that because usually wearable devices work on your heart rate, and your heart rate is obviously fluctuating up and down more, the number that gets spat out at the end for how many calories you quote unquote burned is less accurate. Steady state, you go for a jog, you go for a run, your heart rate goes up to, 130, 140, and you just keep it at that for another 40 minutes. It's much easier for the algorithm to be a little closer to the truth. These things never are accurate, like sufficiently accurate, let's say, but they give us a good idea. And if you're tracking, having that, I suppose, slightly closer number could be beneficial. However, if you go for one run and you're like, actually, screw this, I hate running, but you do prefer jumping around like a lunatic or doing a crazy spin class, well, do that. The number itself might be a little bit less accurate, but you're still burning the damn calories. So who cares? And then I think for me as a coach, the last thing I'd throw out as a bit of food for thought is have some time frame, right? So many people I talk to personally as a coach enter these perpetual diets, like they enter dieting and they almost half bake that diet, and then they try to add a little bit of this or they do a little bit of that, but they don't really want to give up their wine, whatever that works out as, right? And what effectively happens is you just get diet fatigue. Now, why am I saying this on a cardio podcast, on a cardio episode? The reason for that is that cardio tends to be thrown in when your weight isn't moving, you're not shifting any body fat, or at least you're not shifting body fat at the speed you'd like to. But the problem is dieting as a whole, aka losing some body fat, should never be a perpetual thing. You should be able to diet down, get to where you want to go, and then move on with your life. And I think this is one of the biggest issues I have with, I don't even know if it's the fitness industry as a whole, but it is just this sort of weird mindset that people have that they just need to diet. Maybe, but if you're going to do that, do it properly, get to your goal. Don't half bake it, because all you're doing is you're just going to get frustrated, get annoyed. Your self-worth goes down because you don't think you can stick to anything. Your self-esteem goes down because you don't feel like you've done it. You don't feel like you can do it. And if you are going to add some cardio to lose some body fat, not a problem. But have a look, a medium to long-term goal, call it 6 months or a year. Map out how much weight you want to lose, what sort of physique you want to have. If you're not entirely sure how to proceed, reach out. You know how to follow me is at Bruno Dalladoni, Instagram, Facebook, literally all the things. And let me know. But if you do know what you're doing, well, then map it out and attack. And when you plateau for a couple of weeks, then maybe add some cardio. Maybe increase the cardio. Maybe drop your calories. There's so many variables that you need to be aware of, as opposed to just cardio. And when you have a plan and a framework to work within for the next, few months, well, they'll take the frustration away. You can 100% commit, get your goal, move on with your life. And if you're like me and absolutely hate cardio, you can do it once a week or twice a week just to keep your heart ticking, and Bob's your uncle. Sweet, guys. Hopefully that was informative. And if it was, please share it with Betty down in accounts, because she's going to be trying to add some cardio this year for her New Year's resolution. So hopefully, guys, I will be seeing you next time.